Okay, shall we start now, ma'am?
Yes, sir. We'll start in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Hardik sir.
Shall we start?
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we'll start. Good afternoon, all. I welcome you all for the third session, day 2 of Atal SDP, FDP, on emerging trends in applications of mathematics. I heartily welcome the resource person of this session, Dr. Hardik Soni, on behalf of the Department of Mathematics, Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker to the gathering. Dr. Hardik Soni is an academician with 20 years experience of teaching at post-graduation and graduation level. He has an academic administration experience of 10 years in various capacities. He has an experience of 5 years as director of MCA program. He is the director and professor at Gujarat Technological University. He has many research publications in reputed journals and books to his credit. He is the co-author of the book Operations Research, published by Prentice Hall, India. He received the BSc and MSc degrees in mathematics from Gujarat University, Ahmedabad, India, and a PhD degree in mathematics from Gujarat University in the year 2007 under the guidance of Professor and Head Dr. Neeta H. Shah. His areas of research are inventory control, supply chain management, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning techniques. I heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you. And thanks for
Over
the
to you, sir.
nice introduction. So yesterday, Neeta ma'am has finished her talk with the SVD, singular value decompositions, and eigenvalue decompositions. I hope you remember that. So now the case is, and the point is how we can apply these two concepts in the machine learning algorithms, and what are the applications of this concept. Okay, so my session is on this, on SVD. I will show the hands-on or whatever the experiments I'll perform. That experiment I'm going to perform on Python platform. So I've been told to introduce something regarding the Python. So I'll start with the Python installations. Okay. Any of you can interrupt me if you have any questions. Okay. So as per the schedules provided to all of you, that the question answer sessions is after the once the session is over. But I would suggest if you have any question, then please interrupt me and I would be more than happy to answer you. Okay. So let us start with some Python introduction. How many of you are aware about this Python? Do you have a right to say anything or just raise the hand? Or
Pardon, sir?
am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all the participants are allowed to make chats or just give the response. Okay.
No, they can unmute themselves and ask questions.
Okay, fine. So with the organization's permissions, of course, I announced that things. If any participants have any doubts, then they can interrupt my session, whatever the ongoing. Okay, and then they can, he or she can ask me the questions, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So instead of conducting the question answer section at the end, we will do in betweens. Okay.
Sure, sir.
So that will be good. So I can see on the chat section, because most of you don't have a much idea about the Python. Okay. So Python is more or less similar to the MATLAB, and even it has great functionalities even more, right? But let me tell you how we can start the Python. I'm going to share my screen now. I think it's visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, fine. So see, there are multiple ways of installing the Python. There is a site called python.org. This is an official website where you can get the source of the Python, and there is a download section there. If most of you are using the Windows based, but if someone is using the Mac OS, then there is a Mac support is also available, but you can choose the Windows one. And if you scroll down a little bit, you will get the latest stable version of the Pythons. Okay, so you can download this, and there is a simple installations. Okay, so this is how you can download the Python and install the Pythons. Okay, then it is 32-bit is also available, 64-bit is so as per your system requirement. Okay. Then alternate way is, because Python is heavily depends on the packages, because the Python is coming with some limited functionality, but if you wanted to use some additional features or additional functionality, then you have to rely on third-party tools, which is again developed in the Python and for the Python. Okay, so for that we have to install a package. All right, and I will show you the one simple command, and using this command we can install certain packages or the required packages. But once the Python is installed, then let me show you how it's look like. This is a Python IDLE, integrated development learning environment. Okay, so you can open the IDLE of the Python. Although I'm not using this much. Okay, currently I'm using 3.7.9. Okay, but the stable version is 3.10, right? So it's not a matter much because which version you are using. If it is belongs to 3, then it's okay. All these third-party packages will be compatible. Okay, so this is how the console of the Python look likes, and you can perform normal calculations like in a MATLAB. Okay, so we can add, let's say 2 plus 3. Then the multiplication operation, then the division operation. Okay, and let's say the power. The only difference is the power. If you wanted to raise the power, then you have to use double star. This is a double star operator is for the power. So it's a 2 raised to 3 or 2 to the power 3. So the answer is 8. Okay, so this is how you can use it's a simple calculator, Python as a simple calculator, and whatever you do in the MATLAB, the similar things you can do here. Okay. The only difference is the Python is, it depends on the packages. Okay. So in case of MATLAB, suppose you type a square root and square root of 2, let's say. Okay. So you will get an answer because square root is a built-in function in case of MATLAB, right? So here there is no square root, or let's say sine or cosine or any trigonometric functions. Okay, if I type sine 2, then again it throws an error. right? But this will not happen in case of MATLAB. But in order to use any mathematical function, what we have to do in case of Python, so we have to import a particular package, okay, or you can say as library. Some of the libraries are available while you install the Python, and some of the library which are called the third-party library that we have to install later on as and when required. Okay, so I'm using this, I'm calling this part library, which is called math library. So is a built-in library available. So import.math. Okay, so I have to write a single statement like this, import and math. Okay, and then we can write math dot. Okay, so we call this library, and now you can see all the methods and the functions available in the library is available to us now. Okay, here you can see the sine inverse, sine hyperbolic, and all the mathematical functions are available, right? Cosine, then the exponential functions and all these functions, factorial is also there, right? So let us start with the square root, SQRT. So now we can do the square root of 2. So we'll get this answer. Okay. Understood so far? I'm going to close this one. Okay. Now, this is not a good way of dealing with the Python, because we need another or the third party IDLE, and there are many IDLEs available, like Spider, which is as good as MATLAB. Okay, VS Code is also there, where you can run or create a script and run the Python program. Okay, but let me show you the Spider. So you will get a familiar environment and familiar outlooks, or you will find some resemblance with the MATLAB. Okay. So before this, the alternative way of installing the Python is WinPython. This is a very good package. It comes with a bunch of required packages, so you don't need to install any other third-party libraries. Okay, you will find the spiders, you will find all the mathematicals and machine learning related libraries while you install the WinPython. So it is, you can just Google it. Okay, and these are some versions. Okay, you can simply create, let's say 3.9, and there's a source available, and you can simply download its exe file. Okay, and install. The installation is usual. Okay, that is, it doesn't require any special knowledge for the installation. Okay, so this WinPython comes with lots of packages. Okay, so I would suggest to download this one and start with this one. Okay, now let's see. Okay. All right. I hope the screen is visible to everyone, and see the familiar UI, user interface. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, fine. Okay, so see, in the Spider, you will get a console like this. you will have a variable explorer, you will have a file explorer. Okay, you will have a help explorer. Okay, plot is also there. And here on the left hand side, you can write a script. Okay, so whatever the script is written, you can write it over here, you can run it, and you will get the output. You will get all the variables available here, right? So it is as good as MATLAB. This entire interface is similar to the MATLAB. Okay, so let's do some basic thing here. So let me import, let's say NumPy as NP. This is again a very powerful tool which is required for the machine learning algorithms. Okay, is a numerical Python, is a combination of the words. It's numerical Python. And this is the way we can import the library instead of calling only NumPy. See what we did earlier, we did import math, something like that. Okay, import math. So every time, if any functions I have to use, let's say sine or exponential or the log function. Okay, so I have to start with math, then log of 2, let's say. Okay, so that is a natural logarithm, so is a 0.69312. Okay, so every time we have to type math, right? And then we can call the functions. It means we are importing math function, log functions from the math library. This is what it means, right? But suppose you have a very specific functions to use. So you can do like this, you can import like this, okay, from math import square root, then let's say log, let's say only this two, right? Now we have a freedom to use this function square root directly without using the math. Okay, same thing, log of, let's say 3. Okay, yes, any question? All right. Okay, so this is how we can get rid of to typing this thing math or the name of the libraries. So this is a one way. This is a second way, or the third way is you can call everything from math import, let's say star. It means you are importing everything. Now I can use cosine function, cosine of, let's say 2. Okay, I can use the sine function, let's say 5. Okay, so in a similar way, we can use any of this function. I hope you are with me so far.
Sir, it is a sine 5 degree or a radian, sir. That
It's
is
a radian. It's a radian.
Radian, okay.
Okay. So you have to convert it into degree form, right? Even we can use the pi also. It's a pi by 2. Let's say what we get, sine pi by 2. Right? Okay. And cos pi by 2. So it's nearly equals to 0, but as you can see this is not 6.12, but is a 16 times 0, because e to the power minus 70 means is a 16 times 0, then some numbers. Okay, so is there just a machine precision? So it will display the digits up to so many digits. So it never equals to 0. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So let me proceed now. So as I said,
Yes, sir.
Okay, suppose you have in MATLAB, you normally create a vector like this, x is equals to 1, 2, colon 3. Okay, so it will gives 1, 2, 3, right? But in Python, you can't do like this. Okay, so the main container in the Python is a list. Okay, and in order to create a sequential numbers, so we have to create a list. Either we can write in this way, the square bracket, or we can use the command list, and then there is another command which is called range or the function. Okay, and if I say, let's say 4, then see what happens. Okay, so it will create a list of the number up to 4, but not 4. And the starting point, observe the starting point. So the starting point is 0. Okay, then 1, 2, and 3. So this function, or not for this function, but for the Python, okay, the indexing is start from 0. While in case of MATLAB, the indexing is start from 1. So that is a difference. And the another difference is most of the cases, in case of MATLAB, you are using this braces, parenthesis, okay? And here we have to use square brackets. Okay, that is the difference. All right. Now the question is, can we generate a list from 1 to 5, let's say? Okay, I don't want a 0, but I wanted to generate a list of the numbers 1 to 5. Okay, so how we can make this? So there is a possibility in range function even. So we can specify, or we can state the starting point, and you can see there is a pop-up on my screen, which is say that start, stop, and step size. Okay, you can just read out this thing. So the first point or the first argument is for the start. You can also specify the last point, but suppose we want it to 1 to 5. So we have to move one more step. So 6, and if we don't specify the step size, then it assume is a 1 by default. So that's it. And let's see. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this way, we can create a vectors or list in the form of the list. Okay. Then let me show you one more argument. Suppose we want a step size. So can we pass a step size as a non-integer value? Okay. So let's check it out. If I take, let's say 0.1. Oh, so that says that this function doesn't take this step size is equals to 0.1. It will not allow to specify the step size in the form of float. Okay, so we have to compulsorily pass the step size in integers. Rather, first, let me take the positive integer first. Okay, so it will start generating a numbers from 1, then the step size is 2. So the next will be 3. The next will be 5 up to the last limit that we have specified. Okay. You can also pass the negative arguments here because negative integers. That is why I say it is an integer. Okay. But see, it creates an empty list. So whenever we need a number in a reverse order. Okay, so we have to specify the stop becomes the starting and the start becomes stops in a reverse order, right? So now you'll get the numbers in a reverse order, 6, 2, and 6, 4, and 2. Understood? So this is a basic introduction. Now suppose, let me store somewhere here. Let me store as a X here. Okay, let me call this as a X, like in MATLAB. It's a very similar. Okay, so now we have declared a list and stored it into X. So this is our X, 1, 3, and 5. And you can see here in the variable explorer. Okay, so how many variables are there? So these many variables are here. And we can see that X is a type of list. The size is 3. And these are the values which resides in X. Okay. Similarly, let me clear everything. Okay. So I have removed all the variables and let me start from scratch. Let us declare X like this. Now, can we do a multiplication? Suppose we wanted to multiply with 2. Okay. So what will happen here? So we are expecting that it should be 2, 6, and 10. Okay. But see what happens here. It will create a copy of X and that original vector will be expanded. Okay. So this is what happened. Instead of multiplication, it will concatenate the same variable. Okay, 2 times. So if you write 3, then it's 3 times and so on. Okay. So how we can multiply? How we can do the multiplication operations? So the idea is very simple, but here we have to do or write a for loop for this. So I can say that I star, let's say 2 for I in X, simple. Okay, then it will multiply all the element of X by 2 and will generate a new list. So this is the way. Okay. And suppose we wanted to avoid everything. So there is a powerful package, as I said, import numpy as np. Okay, and let me clear this first. And now, if I declare a array, now it requires an array to be declared. And let's say X here. Okay, so now we have an array. One, 3, and 5, and this we can multiply by 2. See, directly. So there is no need of writing any loop. Okay, so this is a very powerful package. This NumPy is a numerical Python. Okay. Even we can generate, let's say, range. So similar function is a arrange, but now we have a, it will accept the float step size. Okay, so we can divide the 0 to 1 into 10 parts or with the step size 0.1. Okay, Similarly, np dot line space. I think this is similar to the MATLAB function. Okay, 0, 1, and suppose we wanted to generate 10 points. So number of points will be 11. So 0, 0.1, 0.2 up to 1. Okay, so it is similar to the MATLAB. This is line space, this function. Okay. Then you can easily create a plot. But again, not directly use the plot command. Again, it depends on the library. We have to call a library. So this library is from matplotlib.pyplot as plt. Just I am giving an alias. Okay, so I don't need to write the long words. Okay, so this is, oh, sorry, not from, import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. Okay, and let me get this one, x. Okay, let's take x is this now. Okay, so we have a x, an array, and let me define y is equals to np.sign x, sign of x. Okay, so now we can easily plot plt dot plot x comma y. Okay, so we have a plot like this. There's a, I think you have a plot here also. So what is the good thing about this is you just observe this and just tell me. I am simply writing the another one. Let me say np, np dot, let's say cosine of x. Okay. See, this is sine and cosine. Since I have considered all the points from 0 to 1 only, so you can see the graph like this. But observe this thing. We have a 2 graph at a time, right? So we don't need to store. Once you get the one figures, then you get the another figure. So every time we have to store or save the figures. Okay, but here you will have all the figures will retain until you close the application. Okay, so this is a basic introduction. It's a very formal introduction because I think because whatever I'm going to explain, which is based on the Python, so I think it is better to explain the Python first. Do you have any questions so far?
Sir, I am trying to relate it morning session what I attended of MATLAB.
Okay.
Is it we need to write the program to solve some equations here in Python?
It depends. It depends what you are. What is your objective?
One algebraic function in MATLAB directly we can have a code over there. We can enter the equation and
Okay.
obtain the roots. So to obtain the root of any algebraic, any quadratic equation, if you take, is it I need to write the program here?
See, there is a library available which is called linear algebra. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In this np dot linear space, linear algebra, then you will find so many functions. See, here you get eigenvalues, determinants, eigenvalues, inverse, this, okay, linear equations. So you can solve, see, solve,
Okay, sir.
right?
Okay,
Even though
sir.
you
Okay.
got
So
it.
it's not required that I need to write any program. Directly it is available in the library. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So most of the cases, most of this type of direct solution that we require, so library is available, and there are lots of functions available in the NumPy library. Okay, so you can use that function, but just it requires some knowledge, okay, where it is or the function belongs to which library. This is the knowledge required. Okay. So like in the MATLAB, you can directly call that function. That is the only difference. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone? No? Okay. So let us proceed with my topic, right? This is a singular value decomposition, abbreviated as SVD. So SVD is normally decomposes the given matrix into the three matrices. It produces a sequence of three matrices, right? And we can decompose the given matrix in this way. Just a second. I hope this my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Okay. So okay. So this is a, let's say, is a n by m matrix, and we can decompose this matrix into U, sigma, and V transpose. So suppose we have one matrix A. So we can write a matrix U, then the sigma matrix, and this V transpose matrix in this way. Okay, this is called SVD, singular value decomposition. Okay, wherein U and V, these two are the unitary matrices. And what is the property of the unitary matrices? Anyone knows? Here I have considered in the real space. Okay, but you can, of course, extend it to the complex plane also, or complex space also. So in that terms, U star is equals to identity is equals to U star U. This is the meaning of unitary matrix. Okay. So in a simple word, the inverse is transpose. Okay. U is same as transpose. U transpose is same as U inverse, or U inverse is same as U transpose. In that context, it is used. Okay. So this is the concept. It is more or less similar to the eigenvalue decomposition. I think you have studied this theorem maybe in your graduate levels or at the master levels, or you must be teaching this concept. Okay. So how this decomposition is applied, how the machine learning analyst used this concept. Okay, and these are some applications. You can, of course, see the Wikipedia, because I'm not going to show this, and I'm not going to get into the details of these things, the mathematical details, right? If you are interested, you can just explore and refer this thing. So in machine learning viewpoint, it is useful for the reduction of the dimensionalities. Okay, it is a base of PCA, principal component analysis, which is a statistical techniques to reduce the dimension. This SVD also used for image compressions. or extracting the features from the images. All right. So this is another application of the SVD. Even though you can use the SVD in order to establish the relationship between the two variables, okay, like linear regressions or the multiple linear regressions. Okay. So if you don't if you don't want to apply the regression techniques, then you will get the solution through the SVD also. Okay. So what I'm saying this, that I will demonstrate to you, okay, how we can do this. Okay. So ready for this? Everyone with me?
Yes, sir. People are messaging in chat box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Okay, fine. Right. See, this is another IDLE, and which is generally used for demonstrating the code as well as some available informations. Okay, so I don't need to switch from slide to code and code to slides and everything. Okay, so this is the plan, today's plan, and this is about the SVD. Okay, so U is sometimes called is a left singular vectors. It is more or less a singular vectors, means the eigenvectors. You can relate with this. And V is a right singular vectors, and D is a diagonal matrix of the singular values, or you can say is a eigenvalues. Okay. See, suppose if A is a m by n matrix, so U will be a m by m matrix, means number of rows, those many rows in M, that is equivalent to, this is a square matrix of size m by m. This is another square matrix of size n, which is number of columns in A. Okay, and D, of course, D is a diagonal matrix, but it is nothing but, or it is a resemblance to the eigenvalues, right? It will not a matrix, but we have to convert it to a matrix. So I simply start, let us first verify this thing. Okay, so how we can decompose this thing, or how we can decompose any matrix. See, what is the difference in the eigenvalue decomposition and SVD? SVD, in fact, is a generalizations. In case of eigenvalue decomposition, your matrix should be a square matrix. But what if your matrix is rectangular? Okay, so in that case, we have to use SVD. All right, so in this way, you can say that SVD is a generalized form of eigenvalue decomposition. So I'll start by calling the NumPy library, because I'm just going to use this one. Okay, and let us create a one matrix is -1, 2. This is the first row, this is a second row, and this is a third row. And let us display this. Okay, so first row, second row, and third row, and this we have to decompose this matrix into U, D, and V transpose form. Okay, in fact, there is a direct function available in the NumPy linear algebra SVD. Okay, and we will get directly transpose matrix, and that will not happen in MATLAB. I will demonstrate the same thing in the MATLAB also. Okay, so just have an idea. Okay, and you can see the difference how we can write in Python and how we can write in MATLAB. Okay, so this will generate, this function will generate the three matrices, U, diagonal, and V transpose. So let us see what we get here, U. Okay, this is a U. So as you know, what is the size of A? Is a 3 by 2 matrix, right? So as I said you, this matrix will be of size number of rows. It will be a square matrix, and the size of this matrix is 3 by 3, how the number of rows in A. Okay, so this is our U. Okay, these are the orthogonal vectors. You can just verify this thing. Then the V transpose already transpose form, and this is our diagonal matrix. Okay, right. So this is how we get this one, by calling simply this function SVD. Okay, now let us verify. If we multiply these three matrices, we should get this one. Okay, so that's how we can verify this thing. Okay, so how we can do this? So see, here we have a D is only a array, means is a either you can consider as a row vector or a column vector. Okay, and if you observe the D will have a eigenvalues in a descending order. Okay, so that is very important. I will tell you how. So that is very important, but see, so first we convert this matrix into convert this vectors into a matrix using the diagonal. Okay, that diagonal command. So this will generate a diagonal matrix. Okay, now we can concate this thing in order to mesh the sides, because we have to multiply this thing. Okay, we have to do like this. So we have to add 0 at the bottom. Okay, and then we can create, or we can take a dot product with this, because it's a multiplication. Okay, so it's a matrix multiplication. So U dV transpose. So you can say this is a dot product D and VT and U. Dot product, not in that sense. Okay, it's completely mathematical form. Okay, name D is not defined. Sorry, I have to take this. Okay, this is a D. I have to run this first, and this is just an alternate way of doing, and this is the D. Okay, see, we'll get back this matrix. -1, 2, 3, -2, and 5, 7. Okay. Right, clear so far? We will do the same thing in MATLAB also. Okay. Now, as I said, this idea is useful to compress an image. So let us see the first application. Okay. So how we can do this? So I import some required or necessary library in order to read the image, in order to plot the image, right? So this is a library. There are many libraries available, but I'll choose this one. And of course, you are familiar with this matplotlib. Okay, and I have pass some parameters here. Okay, so let us open this figures and let's plot this figure first. Okay, which figures? This figures is lying in the current directory. So I don't need to specify this path. Okay, and this is a figure. Okay, so just a dog. All right. So now, before applying the SVD, we have to convert this into grayscale. So there is a command which will convert this image into the grayscale. And let us plot this thing. Okay. Then convert the data into the NumPys. We will convert this data into the NumPy form, because see what I'm getting here is image gray is a number only. Okay, this is the image only. It is not converted into a number. Okay, so that's the story. So we have to convert it into a NumPy array or NumPy matrix. All right, and then we plot this. So convert it into a number. Same thing. Okay, now this is our matrix, image matrix. And let us see how it looks like. See. So when we read the figure and it's a grayscale figure, so then it's a 8-bit pixel. So it's 0 to 255. All the values you will get in between 0 to 255. 0 indicates white and 1 black. Okay, or maybe vice versa. And we'll get the shape of this. Let's see what is the size of this matrix. So we convert or we represent the given figures into the numbers in the form of matrix, and this is the size. So it has a dimension of 2000 by 1500. So you can imagine a matrix having a 2000 rows and 1500 columns. Okay. Everyone is with me so far? All right. So now we are going to apply the SVD. Now our objective is to decompose this matrix, image matrix that we have already shown. So we will decompose this matrix into a U, sigma, and V. Okay, and see what we get. It will take some time, a few seconds. Okay, and meanwhile, you can read this line, which is written after this cell. Which variable or in which variable we have stored the eigenvalues? All eigenvalues in a sigma variable. This is our left singular vector. This is our right singular vectors. Okay, so the idea is now through the SVD, what is sigma? Let's see what we get here. Oh, see, this is a sigma. And what is the size of the sigma? 1500. So we have received the 1500 eigenvalues for this matrix. Okay, as the size of this matrix is, the number of columns is 1500. So we have a 1500 eigenvalues. Okay. Now let's see a few of them. Let's see first 10. Okay, this 10 eigenvalues. So the highest value is this, the second highest is this. All are arranged in a descending order, say, right? So everywhere, even we can slice this. Suppose we want to see 10 to, let's say 20 or 20. So between 10 to 20. So these are the eigenvalues starting from 10 to 20. Okay. All right. So what does it specify now? What we are doing? So after the decomposition of the image matrix, what we are going to establish? Any idea? Any clue? Am I audible to everyone?
Sir, we keep the big ones, the more prominent, that note you showed in the middle.
Yes, we keep big eigenvalues. Okay, fine. Then
That should reduce the size of the matrix, sort of. We require that.
yes, that will reduce the size of the matrix. Okay, but why we keep the big values? See, as you can see, this is in ascending order. So, what is the purpose? Because see, we have to deal with the numbers only for machine learning and
You said that image compress or something,
image compressions, right? Image compression. So earlier the image size is this. So in order to see all the features which are in the image, okay, so we have to retain all the features, right? We have to retain all the information which is provided in the figures by compressing the size of the image. Okay. So our objective is to retain all the features, and at the same time we don't want to keep the same size of the image. All right, we have to reduce the size at the same time, right? So in order to achieve this, these all eigenvalues, let's say if I take the first 20, so these all eigenvalues and the corresponding these eigenvalues, we have a matrix U which shows the figures, which shows the features, one by one features. I don't know what features it has. Okay, so it will extract certain features which is stored in U. Okay, so if we multiply, if we take the first eigenvalue and if we get the multiplication of this three, the first values of this, so it will reflect the one features. Okay, that I'm going to tell you. See, this is the, now we are reconstructing the original image by keeping only first values. Are you getting me? Why we are doing this and what we are going to do this now? Understood? Okay, so I just take the first value of this. This is again a very big matrix, and let me show you this thing. What is this? This is, I'm taking the first, because U has size, again U is a very big matrix, is a 2000 by 2000, because of course, yes, this is a 2000 and B has a size of 1500 by 1500. So is it out of 2000 to 2000, will take only the first value, the first column. This is the first features. Okay, so these are the values. And similarly, we'll take the, because since it's a transpose. Okay, since it's a transpose, so we have to consider the column of this. Okay, so the column of this is okay. So actually it is column wise. Okay, but since here is a transpose, so instead of row, we have to consider the column. See, here is a column, here we have to consider the row. Okay, so the first, so if we multiply these three together, the first value, 3,03,000, then this matrix and this matrix, what we get, we are going to reconstruct our image by multiplying only the first value and see what we get. Okay. Oh, it's not visible. It's not so clear. Okay, so now the question is, how much value should we take? In fact, that is a very interesting question, in fact, and it requires a certain amount of research. Okay, and it has already been proved what is the optimal rank in maybe in 2014, right? But I'm not going to discuss this thing. But let's see, instead of 1, if we increase the size gradually, I start by taking 2, then 4, then 6, and so on in the multiple, in the power of 2 raised to n form. Okay, so this is how, say, 2, 4, 8, 6, 13, and 64. And if we run this thing, and if I run this thing now, see, so if we take, or if we consider only 2 features, first 2 features, so this image it look like, let me small it little. Okay, okay, still it's not clear. If we take 4, then there is a very blurry image, isn't it? Visible? Okay, if we take 8 now, can you see anything? Is it reflected? No? Okay, 16. I'm not getting response. 32. Okay, 64. Which one is better?
Which 64 is better.
Yes, 64 is better. Even 32, there is a little bit noise is there. Okay, so if we are satisfied with 64, okay, with the size of 64. So if we consider only 64 eigenvalues, okay, so that will be that gives us all the information which is resides in the figures. Okay, right. So how much compressions we have done? So let us see again the size, and if we multiply this too, so how many vectors? The length of the vector is almost 30 millions, as you can see. Okay, and if we are satisfied with the 64 things, okay, so the U of size 2000, so 2000 into 64 plus 64, and V is of size 1500 by 1500, so it will be multiplied this. So how many variables and what is the length of the vectors to total if I flatten the vectors? Okay, and what will be the size here? So the size is, oh, it's only 2 lakhs, 2.25 lakhs only. Okay, so as you can see, this reduces almost 7%, 7.5%. Okay. Understood? So this is a one application. This is one application. Any questions so far? If you have any question, then you can ask me. Otherwise, I proceed.
Sir,
Yes, please.
like 64, N is 64 eigenvalues we have taken.
Okay.
As you said earlier, in 2014, the optimal solution has found.
This is not an optimal solution. This solutions I'm
Trial and error.
yes. This is trial and error method. Okay.
Okay. If
So
is
if we
it very
satisfied with the-
elaborative, if you tell the optimal solution over here?
so you are asking for the optimal solution?
Yeah.
That's a completely different story.
Okay, sir. That's why
Okay.
I asked. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Because it's next line of presentations, right?
Okay.
So I just passed that information. I conveyed that information. Okay, there is a optimality. If
Optimal
you-
solution. It's
Yes.
it's not required that always we need to go for trial and error.
Of course, of
Okay, sir.
course.
Thank you.
Okay. This is just for the demonstration purpose I have written. Okay. We can get an optimal solution. So that based on that, we can say that how many features we require. Okay. And what should be the size that should be extracted, all the informations. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Any other questions? No. Okay. Now, before I proceed this, as I said, written to slide, but I have not mentioned in the slide, but let me add here. Okay, all of you know the system like AX equals to B. Okay, so wherein this the number of variables or unknowns, okay, equals to the number of equations. This is what we generally see. Okay, if equality doesn't hold, means number of unknowns is not equal to the number of equations. So we have two cases, in fact. Okay, number of unknowns less than number of equations. Okay, and the second case is reverse the inequality. Okay, number of unknowns is greater than equations. Okay, so can we have a solutions for this? What are the mathematical rules for this? Can we have a solution? Yes or no? Unknowns are more than the equation, means something like that. If I consider, let me give you a very simple example for this situation. If I consider this 2x minus y is equals to, let's say, 7. Simple equation, only one equation. And here we have two unknowns and the one equation. Okay, so this system is not a system rather, but in this case, infinitely many solution, because we have so many variables which can be chosen freely, or free variables, right? And what happens here? Number of unknowns is less than the number of equations. Number of unknowns So if we have a two equation, but it's means now I guess you understood this thing. 2x plus y is equals to 7, then 3x minus y is equals to something, then 5x plus 4y is equals to, let's say 20, something like that. So here we have a three equations and the two unknowns. Okay, so this time, whether the system is consistent or whether it has a solutions or not. No idea. Okay, so it means if this is the situation, case one, overdetermined. Okay, so we have a long matrix of unknowns, then of the coefficient, which is A. This is a small matrix of unknowns, and this is a right hand side. Okay, and if the second case occurs, then the situation is like this. We have a matrix is a square. It has a more columns rather than more rows, and this will again X, and this is a B accordingly. Okay. So now the question is, can we invert this matrix? Can we have a solution X, which is equals to A inverse B? Is it possible or not, first of all? Okay. Yes, it is possible. Okay, so this is some very brief mathematical background, and it has a very interesting mathematical derivations. If you are interested, you can explore it later on. Okay, so now I hope you got my point. Next point of discussion is this. We are interested to find this thing. So we'll get X. Okay. In either of the cases, most of the time, whenever we deal with any data, what happens, in fact? Suppose we have a, let's say, data points. This is our x-axis, this is y-axis. Okay, and these all are some data points. Okay, let's say X is something, let's say age is X is any variable, let's say age, and let's say height. It's just any variable. Okay, so as age increases, the height increases, and we'll keep the age up to 15 or 18, let's say. Okay, 0 to 18, something like that. Okay, so our problem is here, not AX is equals to B, but we have to find unknowns. We have to find unknowns which satisfy this equation. Which satisfies this equation, means this relation. This is not a good color. Okay. So we have to establish like this, for any age, or sorry, any height, how much time of X, H. Okay, something. So we have to find a slope. This is nothing but the slope, which satisfy all the points. This all the points. I hope you understood the problem, right? So this is, of course, is a linear regression, is a linear regression. The technique is a least square technique, and we can apply the linear regression, and it is based on this regression is based on this again. Okay, but is an equation, it's a system of linear equations we are going to solve. And we are finding, we are going to find the inverse of the matrix, which is maybe a non-singular, or which is not a square matrix or any rectangular matrix. Okay, so that's the case here. So let us see. It is called Moray-Penrose pseudo-inverse, but this time, again, we can the decomposition, SVD decomposition will be help us and will be the tool to achieve this goal. But you can see here, this is D plus, and this is a U transfer. Earlier, we have written like this, U, D, and V transpose. That is the original form of the decomposition. But now this time, here the deck sign, this is not exactly equal to, but it's approximately equal to. So we have to use this deck sign, and this is a deck sign here. This is not a direct the singular matrix. Okay, but we have to get this thing by inverting this thing. Okay, so this is how we can achieve, and is in a reverse order. Okay, so that's the difference. All right. Everyone with me so far?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So again, the same thing. We shall use the same A. Okay, decomposition, U, D, this. Okay, I'm not going to show this thing now, but what we have to do, we have to invert this. We have to invert this, but let me erase this first. Okay, so this is our diagonal matrix, and okay, we have to take the inverse of this and then the same thing. Okay, so we can verify, but there is a built-in function. I'm just skipping this, all the steps. And there is a built-in function P inverse, pseudo inverse of A, which will gives us the final result. Okay, this is how we can get the inverse. All right. And we can do the same thing. Let me show you here. Let me run this thing. D inverse, this is D plus. And if we multiply this to all this together, we'll get the same results. Okay, using the built-in function. This function is available. Just for the demonstration purpose, I have I have done all the calculation like we do manually. Okay, so instead of using the function, this is a manual approach and this is a functional approach. That's the difference. Okay. All right. So let us take an example for this. And suppose we consider one vector and this is another vector, y. Like I said, is it X shows the doses of the drug for Alzheimer's disease, and Y shows this impact on the patients, that the forgetfulness score. Okay, this is the Y. All right, so we have a situation like this, as I explained. This is our X, doses, and here is a score. Okay, but of course there is a, I guess it's a reverse order, and let me declare all this stuff. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Okay, So what we have to do here? We have to find a weights. We have to find or establish this. Okay, doses time means W or X into doses. That equals to, nearly equals to the right hand side, the score. Okay, this is our case. Or we can do one more thing. We can do the score is equals to, let's say the equation y is equals to a plus bx kind of thing, where a is the intercept and b is the slope. So here we have a slope, right? And we can introduce the intercept also, and x into doses, something like that. Okay, we can do this also. All right. So that's the case. So I prefer this one, the second one, the score, the equation, regression equation like this. Okay. So let us introduce the ones, because here we consider all the values are one in a matrix notation. So the matrix will look like this. So this will be the matrix, and these are the values of X. Okay. As we have taken is a 0, 1, 2, 3. And directly is a slope value. So we can directly get the slope values and multiply with y. So this is our W. So it's a matrix, is a constant. So it's a solution. Okay, so 1.76 is your intercept and minus 0.46 is our slope. Of course, we can see this is a negative value. It's a decreasing function, so it has a negative slope. So the slope is negative. Okay, so this is again how we can use the SVD here. All right. And let me draw one more thing here. This is to run everything. P and M, this is just a slope, the usual notations, and see, this is how it fits the data. Okay. All right. So that's the case. Any question? The third application is again a principal component analysis. So let me explain it very quickly. Okay. So again, for the principal component analysis, again, for the reduction of the dimensionalities, it is a statistical technique, but highly based on this linear algebra and its transformations. Okay. So it's if you see the derivation of this, so you will find lots of application or lots of notions are taken from the linear algebras. Okay. But there are many results of the linear algebra used to derive this thing. Okay, so this is our data set. Okay, it's a diabetic data set, and these all are the features. Okay, and the outcome, whether the person or whether the patient have a diabetes or not, is 1 means it's a diabetic and 0 means no diabetics. Okay. So this is the data, and you can see that there are 768 observations and 9 columns. Okay, 9 features, and this one is the outcome. So, but it's useful to classify. Okay, if you provide certain inputs, so the machine or the computer or our program will tell us whether the coming person will have a diabetes or not, or will suffer from the diabetes or not. Okay, something like that. Okay, so this is a feature extraction built-in way, but I'm not going to use the built-in way. Again, I'm using the SVD form. Okay, right. So using the SVD form and this thing, if we consider only the first three feature, okay, only the first three principal components, it will take some amount of time, but that will clearly classify whether the person is having will be a diabetic or not, or is a normal person. Okay. Yes. So I'm sorry, I cannot rotate this thing in this Jupyter notebook, but just you can imagine that the red are for non-diabetic and 0 blue marks are for the diabetics. Okay. So we can easily differentiate. You can just imagine if we can draw, if we can rotate this, then the three components, if we consider only three features, then by reducing the dimension of the given data, so we can easily classify. Okay, so this is how the SVD is used. Is a specific application of SVD in the form of PCA, principal component analysis. Okay. So that's it from my side. If you have any question, then you can ask me. I'm stopping the sharing part.
Sir,
Yes.
it may not be specific here, but the last example, what you have shown it with a trial, clinical trial, in a biostatistics, we are making them to study SAS programming or statistical basis SPSS software.
Okay.
Is it Python gives us any advanced calculation compared to that?
See, all this software, specifically SPSS. Okay. The SPSS is meant for the persons who don't know the programming or whatever the functionalities is available in SPSS. The people are using it and they are not so much
direct
technical.
Calculations we can do it over there.
Yes.
Okay.
So you will directly get the control or whatever the SPSS gives, you have to accept it and you have to understand it. But here, the Python gives the flexibility because we have a control on everything, right? So we can produce the results as per our needs. We can also see some intermediate results, right?
Okay.
So that's the advantage of the
Is
Python.
it the same thing with MATLAB also?
For MATLAB, let me show you by the MATLAB. Yes, MATLAB provides the same features. I'll try to.
No, my question is like Python is always advanced than that tools. What we are using it, MATLAB and all.
Not like that.
Okay.
Okay, it is. I cannot say that the Python is advanced or MATLAB is advanced, right? But
yeah, because I always face that question from the student side, which will be the better one?
See, Python, the first thing is the Python is an open source. Python doesn't require any license. Okay, so is so that's the biggest difference. All right. And while in order to use MATLAB, you have to purchase a license. You should have a licensed version of the MATLAB, and which is costly.
Okay, sir.
And the similar functionality is available in the Python. Okay. The most advanced, most beneficial thing is you have a control over what you are doing, right? If you
Okay,
are,
sir.
if you program your problems, okay, so you can display the intermediate steps, you can interpret the intermediate steps, okay. So in most of the softwares, they are not showing the intermediate steps. They only produces the final outputs. Okay.
Correct. Okay.
So that is the biggest disadvantage of this proprietary softwares.
Okay, sir. Okay. Clear. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else? So yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Sir, just one question. Suppose the first part just how to install the Python, the latest version. So can you see once again, because I actually left this part. Just
See, you can Google the WinPython, WinPython. Okay, so I would suggest for the beginner to start with the WinPython, wherein you will get all the pre-installed library. So you don't need to install any third-party libraries. Okay. And you will also have a Spider, which is the IDLE, and it has a similar user interface like a MATLAB. So those who are very much familiar with the MATLAB, so they don't find much trouble to switch over to the Python, right?
okay.
Thank you. So what I suggest is, instead of looking only the algebraic expressions and the symbols, we have to, now it's time to interpret what the symbols is trying to say and how we can utilize this notions of this results, which we are teaching since long. Okay, so this is what I wanted to convey by this sessions. Yes, anyone else?
Shall I ask one question, sir?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Sir, in Python also, do we have a random number generator as an inbuilt function?
See, Python is a general purpose language, in fact, right? So in Python, you can do anything. So all from researcher viewpoints, there are the library, as I told you, is a NumPy library. Then the SciPy is SCI, Scientific Python, wherein you will find all these optimizations, then PDE and other mathematical branch concepts, right? All the functions are available. It's very rich library. Okay. And most of the third-party libraries are based on these two libraries, either NumPy or the SciPy. Okay. So yes, it's a random numbers, then all the distributions are available. Okay. Even you can, using the NumPy, you can generate a random numbers, whether you wanted to generate a random numbers uniformly or from the normal distribution or from some other distribution. You can use any distributions to generate a random number. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, question from participant. Any textbook for Python to learn? They're asking, sir.
There are lots of tutorials available on the YouTubes. Okay, so you can refer any videos. Okay, so whatever it's any means, whatever suits you. Okay, Sometimes whatever the book I will suggest, so maybe according to me it is good, but according to you from your viewpoint it is not suit you, or it is, you will find it difficult to understand. Okay, so lots of videos for the beginners is available. You choose anyone. Initially it will take some time to choose, to decide which one is best, or which one is as per our understanding, or as per our choice, right? So,
Okay, sir.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, what is the general perception whether MATLAB is preferable or Python? Or is it problem based? Like what kind of problem we are dealing with?
See, is a very, it is
Difficult
difficult to
question.
answer. No, not a difficult question, because see,
Mhm.
earlier I was working with MATLAB since 2013. I was doing this, any experiments, or I was doing the programming in MATLAB also. Okay, but then when I switched to the Python, I found that, see, Python doesn't require any license. So there is no licensing issues. Mainly in case of the MATLAB, it's a licensing issue, number one. Number two, MATLAB is a very heavy software. Initially, it takes so much time. You should have a very good system wherein you can install the MATLAB. And now the latest version of the MATLAB is coming with maybe around 20 GB. Okay, and it consumes so much space in
Yeah,
in
true,
your
true.
systems. Okay, so from that viewpoints, MATLAB is not advisable, right? Although MATLAB does the same thing. What is our purpose? We need the outcomes. Okay, we have to solve the problems by using MATLAB or Python. Okay, if you are getting the same outcomes, you either of using MATLAB or the Python, you can decide which one is good.
Okay.
Okay, from syntax viewpoint, both are similar. Both are similar. There is a minor change. You can write a for loop in the MATLAB in a similar way. You can write a for loop in the Python. Okay, so there is a resemblance, but it's a very small differences are there. Okay, so those who are familiar with the MATLAB, they can easily switch over to the Python. Okay.
What about execution time?
Execution time, see, if you are using the latest stable version of the Pythons, and the execution time is less. Okay, means you will get the desired results in less number of time. It's equivalent time it will take, like in MATLAB. Okay.
Okay. So time wise, we don't see any added advantage, but maybe space wise and license is one point what you are saying is an important aspect to look at. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Anything, anyone else? Chat box, done. Okay.
No other questions. Maybe we can conclude this session. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Hardik Soni sir, for the wonderful session. The session was very informative as you introduced Python applied to linear algebra for machine learning. I hope all our participants are benefited with this session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Hardik Soni. It was really nice to have you on board with us. Many thanks. Many thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hardik sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm leaving now, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.